Hello everyone, this is Ethan and this is my channel, Gringo Campesino. So sorry, I'm next to the river, so it might be quite loud right now. But I'm on my path on the way to my house. So I can't park next to my house, I park about 80 yards away. So I'm trying to clear some of my path here, trying to break some rocks. And I noticed on YouTube there are very few explanations on how to use a wedge and feather. So I tried the expanding cement, didn't seem to work in my case. I'm no expert at this, so I've been using the wedge and feather method. My understanding, that's a method that's been used for thousands of years, but not a lot of people are using it in YouTube. So here's my quick demonstration and explanation how to use it. So this is one of the rocks I want to break, and you can see I've drilled a series of holes in a row here, taking into consideration as best I can, considering I want it to break there, I'm trying to take into consideration the grain of the rock. So rock is not like wood in that it doesn't always have a grain that's very obvious, but I have noticed in the rocks I have broken along this path that most of them do have grain. They're aligned in one direction. So the rock wants to break with the grain. So let me add some wedge and feathers and I'll show you how it works. So I don't have enough of the wedge and feathers. So you can see I have a few extra holes here, and it is likely that these wedge and feathers will get stuck until the rock starts breaking apart. So I do have the extra holes in there to guide the crack as it starts splitting, but also I want to have those extra holes so if one starts coming loose and there's a crack, for example in the center area, but it's still holding tight over here, I can move a loose wedge to over here. Also, I have just a standard masonry chisel, so once it does start to break and I can get the masonry chisel into a hole, I can use it to help break the rock. So sorry about the shaky hands. Obviously this would be better if I had a cameraman. So you can see the wedges are going in fast, and that is because the grain is not exactly the direction that I was hoping for. So it is shearing more of a horizontal way. So the wedges are pushing the top part off. So I'm going to be able to remove a layer here, and the crack's not going to follow the line that I predicted. So you can see that there's crack forming here and up along this line, but it's not going very deep along the line here. So it's going to shear off somewhere around here. See if I can get it to go now. Yeah, so unfortunately it's not too big of a piece. It is fairly brittle, but you can see it's shelling off in a horizontal direction, making my task quite annoyingly complicated, because though it's easy to break, it's going to break off in pieces rather than one big chunk. So I think what I'm going to have to do is pull out these wedges and make the hole deeper and take it off chunk by chunk. Okay, I'm back here the next day. I had a rain last night, so it cleaned off the rock, but you can see I was successful. After the top part sheared off in a horizontal pattern, I was able to get the holes deep enough and make the rock break how I wanted it to. So more or less followed the line of the hole. I want to point out that I was able to get this big bar in and wedge this out, lever it out of place. But I want to point out what I'm trying to look for as a novice, someone who is not an expert in this in any way. But what I have noticed is in these rocks here, where I see these rust patterns. That's showing kind of the weak points. And these rust patterns are coming horizontal here. So you can see the rock sheared off following this rust pattern and up here. And so when I was on the surface, I can kind of see the clues of the pattern. For example, here is kind of a horizontal pattern, making me think that it was going to shear horizontally. And I was right to some extent, but I was able to get the holes deep enough where I kind of forced it away on this vertical pattern rather than wanting to break horizontal like I think it naturally wanted to. You can see this set of holes I had to go pretty deep. What is that, about, I don't know, six inches that I went deep on the hole, kind of forcing it to break how it did. But it was definitely not an easy break. I have had rocks, and I expect in this rock, if I was to drill holes in this pattern, I could put them maybe 4-5 inches apart. So what is that, 10 centimeters apart instead of the 2 or 3 inches apart that I had to on this break. And having the holes farther apart, I think I would be successful and it would break pretty. So here we have another rock. This is in the middle of the path that I want to have and cement to the house. So ideally I could cut it across horizontally at ground level or just above ground level. However, you can see the way it broke naturally in the past. It wants to break this way. It broke more of a vertical pattern. And you can see this crack right here. It looks like it's making a weak point going in a vertical manner. So I think what I'm going to have to do is break it off piece by piece. I'm going to try to take advantage of this crack here and drill a few holes in there, and then I can hopefully spread out that crack and break out a piece. And if I can get this narrow enough, I might just be able to come in from the side and shear off the top. But that's just a theory. Again, I'm no expert. We'll see if it works. So you see I put in these wedges and feathers right here along the natural crack here. But you can see I continued down here hoping that these wedges would make it crack this way, but it did stay with the natural crack in the stone. I wasn't as lucky as I hoped as to make a fault line here. So but it worked out pretty well. I didn't have to hit them very hard. It wanted to crack right away. So we'll see what it looks like as open. Okay, so you can see that I've busted up the rock pretty good. All that's left is a rock just a few inches above ground level here. But what I want to point out is I have some of the wedges and feathers stuck. So it didn't break along the same line that I expected. So the wedges are stuck in here. So that's something you have to be aware of. They are a pain in the ass to get out. I've broken a few of them in the past trying to get them out by hitting them back and forth, and it just weakened the metal enough where it just broke. So I'm going to try to put a few more holes in here. Okay, so you can see here behind me is the broken stone, both of them that I did just today. Some might ask, why am I using this method of the wedge and feather? Well, and it's pretty simple. I don't really have other options that I can think of that will work in this situation. So I have thought about drilling holes and using some kind of explosive. I don't really have access to that. If there's some way that I can make explosive that somebody knows from household items or something simple to get, I'm all ears. I'd be happy to know about that. I'm very willing to give it a try. The other option people have suggested is expanding concrete. I have tried that. I've formed like a crack in the rock with some holes drilled into the rock, and I filled it with the expanding concrete. Doesn't seem to work in my situation, though maybe it would in some other situation. The one option other than this that I have found and used successfully is I waited until the rocks were relatively waterlogged or moist throughout the rock, and then I started a big fire on top of the rock. So as the moisture inside the rock expands, it does crack throughout the rock. That did work. I was able to get a boulder, probably a meter in all directions, maybe a yard and a half, meter and a half tall, meter and a half wide, and about a meter length. I was able to crack that into smaller pieces, and even when it didn't crack all the way through, it was weakened enough from the fire where I could take a sledge to it and break it into pieces. The only problem with that is I don't really have that option in some of the places I'm working. I am considering this rock here, which is the last rock I need to break up. I am considering just building a bonfire on top of it. I do have plenty of firewood, basically just a few yards from where the rock itself is. So I think I might try that to try to break that rock up into pieces without having to go in the trouble of drilling probably on this rock 6 dozen holes and use a sledge to break it up. So if anyone's interested in seeing that happen, let me know. So this is my channel, Gringo Campesino. Thanks for watching. Bye.